G'day, it's Jamie and welcome to Where's My Yowie. Today I'm reading an old newspaper article about German professor Hermann Klaatch, who discovered a tribe of Yowies in the Northern Territory in 1907. So we'll get into it. This was published in the Border Morning Mail and Riverina Times on Wednesday the 14th of August 1907, titled An Amazing Discovery, a Race of Missing Links and Man-Apes. We some time back published an article of the new Australian missing link discovered by German professor Klaatch, says Science Siftings, a fresh and most important link in the chain of evolution that connects man to the anthropoid ape. It would now seem that he has gone a step further and has observed a race of natives between the Daly and Victoria rivers in northern Australia, who possess some of the most marked characteristics of apes and yet are undoubtedly men. Those characteristics consist in having the thumbs very slightly developed as in the apes, and in having great toes of almost identical form with the thumbs. He found that these natives were covered with long hair from head to foot, on all parts of the body except the face, the palms of the hands, the soles of the feet, and their haunches. The most remarkable feature of all was the formation of their hands and feet. The palms of the hands were almost as long proportionately as the sole of an ordinary white man's foot, and the fingers were proportionately short. These were partially joined together by skin. The thumb was noticeably short, and its tip did not reach halfway towards the base of the fingers. It did not possess the power of moving freely across the hand, which is characteristic of the civilized man's thumb. All the peculiarities noted in the thumbs of the natives are found in the higher anthropoid apes, especially the chimpanzee and gorilla. The feet of the natives were formed in almost exactly the same manner as the hands. They were also slightly turned up on the inner side so that the little men did not move with the same apparent ease as white men, whose feet came evenly upon the ground, but nevertheless they were able to run very well. Their feet possessed the same prehensible power as their hands, and they used one and the other with equal faculty in climbing trees and seizing objects. The possession of the thumb by the ape is, of course, one of the most remarkable facts indicating his close relationship to man, but its lack of development shows the immense gulf which separates him from the human family. The Klaatch ape man possessed an absolutely ape-like thumb and great toe, together with the structure of a man in other respects, and therefore apparently he took equally the characteristics of an ape and a man. The wild men are very ape-like in general aspect. They have scarcely any forehead, and they have large projecting ridges above their eyes. They are highly prognathous, that is to say, they have protruding underjaws. Their noses are flattened almost to nothing at the bridge and are very broad at the other end, the nostrils being large and opening forward. They build no houses, but shelter themselves under bushes or in the branches of trees. And when the women are raising children, however, the men make a night shelter of boughs over them. They have no regular marriage, but when a man desires a wife, he lies in wait for her behind a tree, springs upon her, beats her into unconsciousness with his club, and drags her off to his lair. They do not possess a properly articulated language, and they make known their wants by cries and howls resembling the noises made by monkeys and other animals. they know how to build fires, and they kill small animals with rude bows and arrows. Except in these two respects, they do not exhibit the rudiments of ordinary human knowledge of other beings. They cannot be said to possess a vestige of civilization. They eat snakes, frogs, insects, and all kinds of things that would be generally considered unfit for human food. The children are covered with a soft fur which disappears at the age of about 10 and then is replaced by coarse hair resembling that of an ape. Professor Klaatch narrates how one of them escaped in alarm at the sight of his camera by running up a gum tree and then, hanging by the feet, looked over his shoulder to see what the thing was. The newly discovered ape man represents one distinct stage lower or further back in scale of evolution than the Australian bushman, hitherto regarded as the purest form of existing type of man. Whether the bushman is a direct descendant of the ape man or a cross between the two races will be an interesting question to decide. We ventured the opinion in our first article of Professor Klaatch's first discovery of the missing link that it formed a most important factor in the evidence that establishes the Darwinian theory. The Pithecanthropus erectus, or erect ape-like man found in Java, possessed even more ape-like characteristics in its skeleton than the live man now discovered by Professor Klaatch. Yet in its erect attitude and the formation of its skull, it proved itself more nearer to man than any existing ape. Virtually, we now possess 4 links in the chain of evolution, which proves the descent of man. These are the anthropoid ape, the Pithecanthropus erectus of Dubois, the ape man of Klaatch, and the Australian bushman. There is no longer an inexplicable gap between ape and man. Practically, there is no longer a missing link. The end. Well, that's a pretty amazing discovery that this Hermann Klaatch made. I'd just like to talk about Hermann Klaatch for a second. So he was a professor of anatomy in Germany, and he studied evolutionary theory. He also did a lot of research into fingerprints, and a lot of terms that I mentioned about fingerprints now, especially like volar pads and epidermal patterns, were from his discovery. He was one of the most important researchers in the field of physical anthropology. He made great discoveries and was the first to advocate separating anthropology from religion. He found the first complete Neanderthal skull. Klaatch also travelled extensively around Australia for researching anthropology for a few years. He regarded Australian Bushmen, Aborigines, as the purest form of existing type of man. And then, this is the bad thing, he was a grave robber. He was renowned for digging up indigenous graves for his collection, which I don't agree with, and he was chased away from Normanton area by people calling him Devil because of his grave robbing. Okay, so we'll get into what he discovered. Now, in my opinion, he didn't discover a tribe of native Australians. He discovered a tribe of Yowies, and just by going by the description, like they're covered in long hair from head to foot, on all parts of the body except the face, the palms and the feet. Their hands are really weird shaped, with the palms of the hands nearly as large as a white man's foot, and they're got thumbs on their feet so they can use them to grab things with. He also at one stage, when he was describing the feet, described them as the little men, which is interesting, so I'd like to know what height they actually were. He also mentioned that they don't build houses, but they make boughs for when they're having children and that. So that's like probably like the Yowie structures that we know of, with the tree bends and tripods and stuff like that. He says that they know how to build fires, and they kill small animals and eat snakes and frogs and insects. It's just really interesting. In my opinion, this guy discovered a tribe of Yowies, but he thought he discovered a tribe of unknown Australian Aborigines that were hairy. Okay, that's it for me. I'll get back to you all next time. Bye.